Welcome everyone to our Coaching to Success webinar. Today is sponsored by our partners over at the Workforce Development Board of San Bernardino County, who again, you'll meet from in just a moment. My name is Anna. I'm the Digital Media and Event Strategist here at the California Employers Association. And again, we just want to genuinely thank you for taking time out of your day to spend with us in training today. Before we do get into today's content, just a couple details to go over with you, especially if this is your first time in session with us. So as you see, your audio is muted for today's presentation, but as you're already doing so wonderfully in the chat, there are going to be lots of opportunities and invitations to engage during today's training. So keep that up for us. If you do have any questions about the content, you can put those into the chat box or the Q&A box at any time, and I'll be more than happy to help you get that question answered. I'll be here the whole time supporting Jessica, so fire away on those questions and we'll make sure that we get to them today. Handouts for this training will be dropped into the chat box shortly. So once you see the PDF file name and icon pop up, you can just click that and it'll download locally to your drive. Again, I'll be here the whole time supporting. So if you do have any issues accessing that PDF, just go ahead and ping me in the chat and I'm more than happy to troubleshoot that with you. No problem. As you saw when you logged on, the webinar is being recorded and the team over at San Bernardino will be reaching out when that's available for review. Momentarily, I'll also be dropping the link to their YouTube channel where a lot of the former webinars are listed so that you can get caught up on a bunch of training. So look for that in the chat box as well. And then last but not least, we'll be inviting you to share your feedback at the end of today's training by participating in a very brief survey. So it's only 5 questions. It takes about a minute to complete. But the feedback that you share with us in those 5 short questions, we really do take to heart here at CEA. We share that feedback with our partners over at San Bernardino, and collectively, we just make sure that we are meeting and hopefully exceeding your expectations with trainings like this, with our HR hotline, and with the entire suite of resources available to employers like yourself. So at the end of today's training, you'll see a slide with a QR code. I'll also drop a link into the chat, and so you can choose your own adventure, how you'd like to provide that feedback, but we really hope that you do. And so, again, our training today is brought to you by our partners over at San Bernardino County. And today we are so pleased to be joined by Angelica Villaseñor, Business Services Technician, who is here to share more about those resources available to employers like yourself. Good morning, Angelica. How are you?
Good morning. Thank you, Anna, and thank you, Jessica. Thank you all for joining our monthly workshop hosted always by engaging speakers of the CEA. My name's Angelica Villaseñor, a Business Service Technician with the County of San Bernardino Workforce Development Department. As highlighted in the flyer, Workforce Development offers a wide range of services for small businesses through our 3 Americas Job Centers located in San Bernardino, Rancho Cucamonga, and Victorville. If you're hiring, we host job fairs across the county and offer on-the-job training programs, reimbursing 50% of wages for up to 3 months during training, funded through WIOA. Funds are still available. We just got our funding recently. So if you are interested, please reach out to Carmela. Her information is on the screen at this moment. We also offer monthly HR and business workshops like this one. Thank you for spreading the word. As a business service technician, I support Carmela and the entire team, and there's plenty of programs such as we have layoff aversions, we have rapid response. So if you're interested in any of our programs or assistance that we offer, please reach out. And as Anna said, we have our HR hotline that is free to employers. So that's a good tool. And the number is 1-877-282-3763. So if you're interested in any of these services that we offer, please reach out. You can reach out to me, you can reach out to Carmela, and we will definitely assist. Thank you. Back to you.
Excellent. Thank you so much, and to Carmela and to the entire team behind the scenes over at San Bernardino County for all the hard work that you do for employers in your area. I did drop those couple of links into the chat if you didn't see, so that YouTube channel where all of our CEA trainings and some additional resources live, and then that PDF for the slide deck for you to follow along and have that as a resource. But I do want to thank your team today for sponsoring. And now I'd love to introduce our trainers today, Jessica Rivera, who is our Vice President of Human Resources. So you are in great hands, and I'm going to give it over to Jessica.
Thank you, Anna, and welcome everybody. Happy Wednesday. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Thrilled to be here with you. And as Anna was speaking about California Employers Association, we provide peace of mind to employers throughout the state of California. And we provide that through our human resources services and solutions. As a member of the San Bernardino hotline that is sponsored by San Bernardino Workforce Development Board and organization, you have the opportunity to call into us if you have questions about human resources, things that are constantly changing, as we know, in California. So we encourage you to take full advantage of that hotline. We're here to support you, employers in San Bernardino County, and we have a great group of subject matter experts who have been in human resources, that field, for many, many years, and they should be able to get answers to you. And also, there are some times that you may call us and it may be a really tough situation. We aren't attorneys. Our attorneys do ask us to say we aren't attorneys. We're very knowledgeable, and we will provide you guidance and provide you with recommendations. And ultimately, it's always your choice. But if we find that you have a need for further assistance through the legal field, we may, encourage you to seek legal counsel if need be. But most of the calls that we receive, we're able to answer them for you if they're on wage and hour, leaves of absence, things of that nature that we can support you with. So please take advantage of this wonderful resource. We highly value our relationship with San Bernardino County, and we know that they do everything they can for your best interest, for employers and for prospective employees. So they are a wealth of knowledge and provide tremendous resources. With that in mind, let's get into our conversation today. Today, we're going to be talking about coaching at work, how to motivate and inspire people when we coach them. Some of the key components that are really important when you do coach your employees. And then how do we coach underperformers? I would say across the board, one of the biggest challenges that leaders have is it's hard to coach underperformers sometimes. And how do I do it in a way that, enhances the relationship and inspires people to make the changes needed to be able to meet their job expectations and do well at the company. Now, we're not going to have that for everyone. We know that. Yet the majority of folks, though, we do have that opportunity. And how do I do it in a way that I feel really good about what I've done to support that employee and make sure they get on that right track? So with that, we think about effective managers and leaders. I use managers, leaders, pretty much as the same thing, because as a leader, you have to be a manager, still handle results, get all the things done, disciplinary, all of those things. But a leader takes it to that next level where you inspire, you motivate. And as we think about great leaders, we look to some of the work that Gallup has done over the years, their research, and they talk about some of the key components for effective managers. We're able to connect the work that we do to the goals and provide that line of sight for our employees so they see what their contribution in their role is and how it connects to the department, how it connects to the overall organization. Always want to treat people as people. I always like to say we aren't robots yet, and we still have, needs and wants and have feelings, and we want to treat people as people. We want to empower our folks. I was having a conversation recently with a leader and talking about initiative. We want people to feel that we support them, we trust them, we have their back, and empower them to make those calls versus feeling they have to get an answer on every single thing. When I have employees that know what they're doing, I absolutely let them know I trust your judgment. Make the call. It's okay. Also taking responsibility. Effective managers absolutely take responsibility for their own development as well as their team's development too, and making sure that they empower their people, they develop their people, they grow their people. All of those things are important. Additionally, if something happens with the team and it falls short, they take that responsibility. That's important because, we don't get respect. We have to earn that respect. So we have to make sure that we walk our talk and do the things that we need to do to enlist that trust and that confidence in our abilities too. So we take responsibility if things aren't going as well as they should be. And then we coach to success, thinking about how do I coach this person to success? What do I need to do? And why is that important? What is it they want to do? And having those conversations with them. So we'll spend time on all of the areas around coaching to success today to help you in your endeavor to be an effective manager. Another thing Gallup has mentioned is that the most important habit a great manager can have is to provide meaningful feedback to their employees. And the reason that we want to do that is because employees who receive meaningful feedback, 80% are fully engaged if they've received it in the past week. When I talk about recognition and acknowledgement, and appreciation of people, we as human beings need to have that every 7 days. We want to know that we're getting some feedback, that our leader knows what we're doing, they observe, they see, they provide us that meaningful feedback, because that keeps us inspired. I know when I get feedback from my boss, that inspires me to do more and to continue to grow as a professional. Additionally, when we think about engagement is that is when we have an employee who is fully on board with the company. We want engaged employees. And unfortunately, based on the annual surveys that Gallup does, at any given point in time, we have about half of the employees in the US workforce who are fully engaged, meaning we have half who aren't engaged. We have about a third who are fully engaged. So we have an opportunity to move not engaged into the engaged category. And we want to make sure that we do everything we can to have them there. The engaged category, those people, they do the above and beyond. They're loyal to the company. They're an ambassador for your company. They take that initiative. Those are the folks that we want working for us in our company, because the results, both financially, customer service, all of those things, you see a huge difference between those companies that don't have engaged employees versus those that do. So some important things to think about when we have, coaching and the process and factors that are involved. These are all very, very important. Clear goals. When you are coaching someone, you want to have goals that are specific, measurable, achievable, time-bound, and relevant. That SMART methodology that you've heard about, the SMART method to set goals. I don't know about you, but I've worked in organizations where some of the goals that have been set for staff are just out of this world, and they're probably not going to reach them in this century. So we have to make sure that when we're setting goals that we're really paying attention to the fact that they are something that can be achieved. Yes, we want to stretch, but they can be achieved and they're measurable, not all gray, so we don't really know if we've ever arrived, but allowing us to reach those goals and have that sense of achievement. And so keeping that in mind as we set goals. Also, communications between a coach and a coachee, excuse me, has to be open and honest. A coach really wants to have those skills in both observation, asking good questions, listening, being able to be adaptable to the situation, adapting to our audience as we're coaching. Accountability. When we think about accountability, that ties into the coachee, the person that you're coaching, being responsible for taking actions that the coach and the coachee agree upon. I always say when I do coaching, and I'm a certified coach, I coach at all levels of an organization as an executive coach, and also I do group coaching too. We want to make sure that whoever we're coaching is willing to put in the work that's needed. It's not about you as a leader doing all the work. It's about, it's a mutual thing, and we're both putting in the work that's needed. And if someone can't meet me halfway, at least halfway, then we're not going to be successful. Also, empathy. When we think about empathy, which continues to be so important in this world today, is being able to put yourself into that other person's shoes And I mean that in the sense of looking at things from their perspective. Empathy is so powerful and so important for a leader today, and it requires patience, it requires listening, and it requires us not to just see something the way we would do it or the way we would think about it, but trying to put yourself in the other person's shoes. And then, of course, trust building. The foundation of any team is having trust. The foundation of any relationship is having trust. So it's going to, at times, take some time to build that trust as a coach and a coachee. And this is important because many times, and I find this when I'm being asked to work with teams or work with individuals and do individual coaching, professional coaching for them, words that often get confused with coaching is, the coach always gives advice, provides all the answers to everything. And that's not what coaching is when we think about coaching our employees. And the reason I say that is because many employees know what they have to do. They know what's needed. Coaching is getting that from them and making sure that they think of what they can do to arrive at achieving their goal. So when we think about coaching in the context of professional coaching and employee coaching, we only do about 20% of the talking as leaders. We want our employee to do the majority of talking. People have those answers within them. It's up to us to ask the right questions to get that information out. Also, it's not about fixing people. At times I'll be asked, can you do this for this employee? Blah, 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 blah. I don't fix people. They have to, again, want to be engaged and want to be able to make the necessary steps to achieve their goals or to get on that right track. Judgment, it's not about judging as a coach. It's about observation. We don't tell people what to do as coaches. And it's not about just managing them too. And yes, as their leader, you already are managing and leading them. But when it comes to coaching, this is about them coming up with a lot of those answers, them coming up with a lot of those actions. They can ask you questions, absolutely, but you want them to do the majority of talking. So for you, when you think of a coach, and some of you may have been in sports before, in your earlier times in your career or earlier times, in school, when we think about coaching, words come to mind for us, and we'll hear a lot of things like success or support or helping or structure. And a lot of positive words are affiliated with coaching, as they should be. And as you think about successful leaders and the coaching to success, again, it's about how do we get people to want to do what they need to do or grow in those areas to achieve even greater success in their career. When people come up with a lot of their own ideas and solutions or actions, they are so much more committed to achieving them than if we go ahead and outline them for them. So coaching someone to success, you think about how coaches show up, and hopefully you have a great coach where you work too, or you've had great coaches in the past. But these are a lot of the things that you'll see in effective coaches. They listen a lot. Remember, we only speak 20% of the time and listen 80%. We ask good questions, questions that make someone really think, reflect, explore. We help them, with responsibility too, accepting that responsibility and accountability. We stay in touch with them. Coaching isn't a one and done. And we support our employees. We all know we have lives, things happen. I may be on the right track on something, but life happens and I may have to take a step back. But, we support our employees through the changes that they experience, both in their personal lives and their work lives. Coaching's transformational. It actually transforms people to achieve those heights that in some cases they never imagined that they could. I would challenge all of you that people saw things in you before you even saw them that allowed you to reach the level of success you are where you are today. Bosses, on the other hand, we've all had bosses. These are all the characteristics of bosses, and that's transactional. Those aren't the kind of leaders that are going to inspire and motivate and really get that commitment, that deep level of commitment from their employees. And, Gallup likes to say, give up bossing, take up coaching. You're really going to like the results. And asking yourself, where am I right now? Am I coaching? Am I bossing? And do I need to move more to the left in terms of being a coach versus a boss? And don't get me wrong, we still have to manage results. We still have to get things done. Yet effective leaders, really great leaders, are able to do both, which is that lead, motivate, inspire their folks also. So a question for you, have you ever had someone at work who mentored or coached you in a way that really impacted your engagement, your motivation at work? As you think about that, I would venture to say that person comes to mind for you pretty darn quickly. When I think back on some of the coaches that I've had over the years, the leaders that I've had, I have about 3 that always come to mind for me. And one of them, we both had a lot of the same work schedules, and I get to work pretty early at times, at 6:30 in the morning to start my day. Pretty early for me, that is. And he tended to have that same schedule too. So he'd be driving into his office, and he'd call me in my office just to say hello, talk about the day, ask how things were going with the whole team. At the time, I think I had about 250 employees in that office, and we would just talk about things. But after those calls, it wouldn't be every day, but it'd be a couple of times a week. I felt good. I felt like, gosh, we got some things done. I felt motivated. It also showed that this person cared about not just the team, the results, but also cared about me as a leader. And you're not always going to find that if we don't take that extra step to really get to know people. And I'm not saying call people at 6:30 in the morning. All I'm saying is find out what works for you as you're working with your team, because it does make a difference. People won't always remember what you've said or what you've done. They will always remember how you made them feel. Now, I've always appreciated this quote because it still holds true today in a world of incredible technology, AI, all the things that we see, incredible change that we're seeing, is we win with people. We are all still people, and we want to cherish, develop them, grow them, and let them know that we really care about their success. When I coach people, I let them know, especially my own employees, I've always let them know that I care about your success. I have your best intentions at heart with every time we talk about something, whether it's the good, the bad, or the ugly. I have your best intentions at heart as I do this. So don't be afraid to let people know, about your good intentions, what you're trying to do for them, and making sure that they know that they really matter to you as their leader. So what is coaching at work? How does it actually show up? And I'm sure you've all been beneficiaries of coaching. It really is a style of conversation that we have with each other. Our relationships that we have with people truly are the sum of all of the interactions we have with them, the conversations that we have with them. So it really is one of those things that's a little bit more casual, still has structure to it, but it's a little bit more casual. Coaching also helps employees in the way that they learn and grow. And we want them to continue to progress as human beings. We want to feel like we're moving forward, not being stagnant. And when we have coaching sessions with our folks, when we meet with them, we give them that hope and that motivation, and we paint a picture for them too. We paint a picture together for them of what they can see in that future too, which also goes a long way in motivating employees. When we do coaching effectively, it increases the engagement of people, which touches on performance and also provides that opportunity for them to grow in their own initiative too, take an initiative. I have a lot of leaders that say, how do I get my folks to take initiative? How do I get them to, I want to teach them to fish. I don't want to have to give them the answers all of the time. How do I do that? Coaching can help with that, because when you coach your people, you're letting them know, I want you to take initiative. I want you to be able to make that call if a customer comes in and they're not happy with a product or a service, or they call in, or they, however they may show up. I want you to feel that you're empowered to make that call. I used to tell my folks when I was in the insurance business for a lot of years, is if you make a call, and maybe there was another way to do it, that's okay. We'll talk about that and talk about other alternatives if the situation comes up again. But I appreciate the fact that you took care of that and the customer walked away feeling that they were supported and heard. So thinking about coaching at work, how it shows up, and it is work. I know for all of you who lead teams, I know our jobs have gotten harder, more demanding. I know that there's less people doing the work, and a lot of leaders are doing the work and also leading. I get that, but the benefits of coaching allows you to create a team where they really feel that empowerment. They take that initiative and they're not afraid to make a call. And not only that, but they're great ambassadors of the organization also. It can also help with their skills, them feeling important, increases confidence. We want our folks to have that confidence that we've got their back. We want them to make those calls, especially if they have the knowledge and skills to do that. They don't have to check with us for everything. It also improves our overall well-being. And what I mean by well-being is Gallup has done a lot of work around well-being. And what they have found throughout, there's several different components of well-being. They are career, our community, are we engaged in our community, our financial side of our lives, our social side of our lives, our physical health. These are all components of overall well-being. And what Gallup has found is that if employees are feeling very good about their career, the work that they do, they're supported, they're coached, it tends to make everything else, the other components of their lives within well-being, do well. They're thriving. They're not surviving. They're not just struggling. They're actually thriving. When our career is going well, we find that it affects all the other parts of our lives. So it improves well-being. So you have employees who feel good, not just about work, but about their lives. And they have that hope, and they're eager to do more, to grow more, to learn more, and do more for the organization and for themselves. Also, coaching can truly help with enhancing communication skills, both for the person being coached as well as for us as leaders. We tend to have, just as human beings these days in the world we live in, which I like to call a right now world, thanks to Amazon, we can get everything right now. And that tends to prevent us sometimes from being fully present, truly listening, learning. And I don't mean just listening for specific information, selective listening. I'm referring to total listening, being fully present, and that empathetic listening, which is a great gift to your employees. So coaching can help us as leaders to become better listeners, and to not just listen to what's being said, but also pay attention to what's not being said, because that's just as important in many cases in understanding what your employees need. So when we create a coaching culture in our organization, we're helping others to be successful, as well as you as a leader. We can't do the work alone. Our work is done through our people. We're there to remove barriers, support them, guide them, do the things that we need to do as leaders. Important too, because it helps you identify those roadblocks. Asking them, if you were me, what would you do differently on the team? Asking them questions like, what can I do to make your job easier? What do I need to do to eliminate any roadblocks that might get in your way? But it helps you to identify those things earlier versus later. Excuse me. It also helps you guide your team to their full potential. And what I mean by that is that, sadly, research has shown we really only use about 20% of our employees' potential. Can you imagine if we could use 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, some of the things that we might be able to accomplish as an organization? So you're guiding them to their full potential individually and collectively. Remember what I said about they're not always going to remember what we've said or done. They're going to remember how we made them feel. And I know that people tell me time and time again, when I feel good about the work that I do, my relationship with my leader, my relationship with my team, I'm willing to go that extra mile time and time again to support my team and to support my leader. So that's a big benefit to that too. And then also we're preparing them for that next level of success, whatever that might be. Yes, we have lots of career paths in the workplace today. There's the technical, the subject matter expert work path, or there's also the leadership path to success for people also. Not everyone's meant to be a leader. Some people don't even want to be leaders. I've had leaders tell me when I've coached them or I've done workshops, is I don't like people. If you don't like people as a leader, you should not be leading. But understanding that we prepare them for that next level of success, whatever that is. Your folks may say, I don't ever want to be a leader, or I'm really happy where I am right now. I know I do great work and I love what I do and I'm respected for what I do. And I want to continue to do this. And that's okay too. You may have situations where people want to do things right away. They want to grow into that next position or get promoted, but you can prepare them for that next level of success. I like to call that growing people where they're planted right now, so that when that opportunity comes up, there's no question. Coaching can help you with that. So 3 requirements of coaching, these are the things you truly want to have in mind, is it can be complex, but you want to think about these 3 basic building blocks to help you become an even more effective coach today and to be able to do it, as quickly as possible. So I'll touch on each of these, but it's establishing those expectations. We continually coach, not one and done, and we create that accountability. So being clear on expectations. What are those expectations? We want to make sure that as we're coaching people, having conversations with people, perhaps for that next level of opportunity for them, that we're very clear on what that is and being realistic too. What can we do to prepare you for that if this is something that you want to do? Or, you think they may want to do that, but you may find out they don't. Connecting it back to their purpose. We have to have purpose in our work. We have to feel that we have meaning in the work that we do. I've had people who thought they wanted to be leaders, or I've seen them pushed into leadership and it wasn't what they wanted to do. And they actually self-selected to get back out of it. So making sure that we're clear together in the conversation when we coach and connecting it back to, what the purpose is. If there's not purpose to it, you may not get that buy-in. And the outcomes, of course, too. They have to be mutual. Expectations have to be mutual. I learned a long time ago, you can't force someone into something that's not them. You can't make them into something that they have no desire to do, or it's just not even on their radar at all. You can't force people. So it's got to be mutual. You want to be able to do things that play to their strengths, whatever it is. We all have innate talents and strengths. We know what we do really well, and we want to make sure that we're able to be in a position where we can use those talents and strengths. Always want to document, write down the goals, whatever they are. And I encourage you, don't go overboard on doing too many goals in coaching, especially if you're starting out. Pick one, maybe pick 2, but don't pick so many that it's getting to be a whole other thing that you're doing and taking up too much time. Be clear, be specific, and maybe you start slow to kick it off. And then, of course, you want to gain that agreement and commitment. Whenever I coach people, I always tie it back to, I bring back, I said, what have we decided today? What are we going to do? When are we meeting again? And what do we want to have done when we meet next time? So being very clear on what our agreements are and making sure we have that commitment. I asked that question too. Is there anything that's going to prevent you from accomplishing this in the next month? I want to know, but I want them to think about that too. Again, they have to be realistic. Whatever goals we set in coaching have to be realistic. And continually coach. And what I mean by that is, we're coaching all the time as leaders. So feedback should be very specific when we coach, and I'll touch a little bit more about feedback in just a few moments, but it should be very specific and it should be timely. I was talking with someone earlier today and I said to them, one thing I really appreciate about you is your feedback is really quick. And I appreciate it because I'm still fresh in whatever I was doing at the time when you're giving me that feedback, whether it's, positive or whether it's, hey, think about doing this a little bit differently next time. It's fresh in my mind. So making sure as we're coaching, you might have those moments where you need to do it quickly because you want people to still be on that right track, but also feel that, it's still fresh in their minds. The worst thing we can do is do feedback, a month later where I don't even remember what it was that I did. And then the focus is really making sure we continue to help them learn and grow and develop. So feedback doesn't need to be just, constructive in the sense of here's what you can do better. You want it to be really positive too. You want us to be able to say, gosh, I know we talked about this in our last session. I really saw that come through today. Whatever that may be, your communications, your conflict resolution, whatever it is, I truly saw that come through. And here's how I observed it coming through. You were patient, you were calm, you really listened to the other people and their opinions on this particular situation. So being very specific, and of course, be tactful. Thinking about ourselves, how we'd want to receive it, but also knowing your folks. Some of your folks just want the facts, very direct. They're happy with direct. Some folks need the context, and we want to tailor it to our folks that we're giving that feedback to. And then also creating that accountability, having employees, I touched on that, participate in that goal setting, making sure it aligns, connect the dots for your folks. Let them know that what you do here every single day, this is how it impacts our team, our department, our overall organization. We are that line of sight for our people. We connect those dots for them and making sure that they see that impact, that contribution they make. Also, keeping that commitment alive and doing it in a way, having the conversations. They know that it's top of your mind, that you think about that it's important to you to see them achieve their goals just as much as it's important to them. And be flexible with coaching goals. Sometimes we may set some great goals, sound great, look like they can be achieved, that 1 or 2 goals that we set in coaching for the year. Life happens. Companies make changes, economic conditions, or personal lives impact people too. And the time that they thought they could invest, for example, in a certification program or something along those lines, they just can't commit the time right now. So being flexible with those coaching goals for your folks, because life has happened to all of us in our careers, and we know what that feels like. And then I don't know how many of you may already have one-on-one meetings with your folks on a regular basis, but it is recommended to have them quarterly, once a month, depending on the conversations that you have with your folks. Just, of course, to keep your pulse on what's happening in the organization, what's happening on your team. And when you do that, when you start doing that, people are used to it, they feel comfortable. Some of the things that you can start off with, it doesn't have to be every single formal, I make an appointment. Maybe I see someone at coffee and I sit down with them. That can be just a brief coaching opportunity. How are you doing? How was your weekend? What's on your mind? Last week, how did the week go for you? What were those wins that you had? What were the uhs that we had last week that, are still in your mind? But that's an opportunity just to gather some insights. And then also when you actually have your meetings, of course, you want to make sure that you include these, but don't be afraid. You can do a coaching session anytime without an agenda, especially if you're picking up that something might be going on with that employee. Don't be afraid to ask them, how's it going? Everything okay? That goes such a long way, again, in people feeling supportive and feeling that they are, that they have a leader who really cares about them, understands them, and takes that time to spend time with them and listen about things that might be on their minds. Again, one-on-one meeting topics can be a number of things: performance, goal setting, resources, motivation, work styles. We were just talking earlier today about work styles, and some of us are morning people, some of us are night people. Some of us want flexibility in the work that we do, and some of us are able to do it for our employees. Some of us we can't, if we're like in manufacturing or if we're in retail, things like that. But we do have flexibility in other ways. So just things that may come up as you're meeting with your employees that you may learn as you go along, and some things you can do. But no today doesn't mean no forever. It just means no today. So letting people know that you'll look into it or you'll consider that in the future. Timing's everything. And if we think about our own careers, timing is everything. Things that we asked for that we didn't get, yet we did get it in due time. So I have a question for you, and I want to get back on the feedback. We talked about that before. And the question I have for you is, how do you rate your ability to provide feedback to your employees? And I'm going to bring up a poll real quick to ask you to complete that for me, if you would. How would you, and no, it's anonymous, so feel free to just put what hits your mind. How would you rate your ability to provide feedback to others? Give you a few minutes. We have quite a few folks on the line. Good. Okay, give everybody a few more seconds to be able to participate in this poll. All right, let's take a look at the results on our poll. Okay, so as we can see, we have, folks, quite a few at average, feeling good. We have a couple of folks saying I do it excellent. And we have a handful of folks that feel that they could get better at providing that feedback. And hopefully those of you who indicated good and excellent, that you've received your own feedback on providing feedback, that people have said, gosh, you really helped me with that information. I really appreciate it. It was just the right information, right on time, and what I needed. On average, people feel okay about providing feedback. We learn from feedback we've received that wasn't so good versus feedback that was really outstanding. So we learn from both sides of it. But a couple of things to consider. Thank you all for taking the poll. I appreciate it. A couple of things to consider when it comes to feedback is how we do it, how we provide it. There's 4 different types of feedback. All of us have been victims, I like to say, or recipients of negative feedback where it didn't go well. And I think back on some of the feedback I've received over the years, and I was so disillusioned, so unmotivated, just really felt bad about the feedback that I got in the negative state because it was all negative. Positive feedback, we all love positive feedback. We need to do more of it, look for those opportunities to do it. We want to talk about what they did, and it really did a great job on what has already occurred. So that's always stuff that we love, and we don't get enough of it. People need to get that feedback at least once a week. Every 7 days is what Gallup says. We all crave it as human beings. So looking for those opportunities. Negative feed forward, that's something that sounds similar to Anna. Your presentation last week really was not that effective. And here are some things that you did, and in the future, don't do this again. Boy, Anna's not going to feel very motivated about that. It's all negative. So it's not only negative in what happened, but it's negative in moving forward. Some of the best feedback you can give is positive feed forward. And asking people, how do you feel that went? Moving forward, what can we do to make it even more effective for you? People they know when they haven't done a good job, but thinking about how you're going to present that feedback to them, excuse me, is so important. And then also thinking about the person receiving the feedback. Remember, we're not all created with the same communication abilities or desires. I may listen differently to a certain tone of voice or a certain approach than someone else will. So knowing your people and how you provide that feedback. But the type of feedback we want to provide moving forward that really motivates people is positive feedback and positive feed forward. Because when we provide that feed forward methodology, it results in people seeing, gosh, there are things I can do to get better. It inspires them. It makes them give them that hope. Yes, there are going to be times we have to work with underperformers. We have to let them know observation-wise what we've observed, but we want to look towards how do I inspire and motivate? Positive feed forward and positive comments are some of the best ways to do that. And these are just some things to consider as you're giving that feedback, and talking about what you've observed, being positive and clear, the timing of it too, and being sincere and genuine, and let people know sometimes you've received this kind of feedback too, so they're not feeling all alone. But these are some ways too that make a big difference in how people receive feedback. I like to think of feedback as a gift. And I've often shared with people that, when you're getting feedback, people care about you. They care about the performance, they care about the work, and it makes you feel like they have a big interest in your career, in your abilities, and they want to see you do better. So looking at it as a gift, I also encourage people to ask for feedback. For all of you here today with us, if you're working on certain things that you're trying to achieve in your career, don't be afraid to ask people for feedback. So being able to do that goes a long way. These are some of the things that we run into when it comes to poor performance and motivation. We all know that it can be a number of things: ability, their own desire to do well, and then of course addressing poor performance, whether it's training, shifting job duties, development that they need, mentoring them, or is there something else going on? It can be a number of things. Some of the common performance issues that we run into are all of these, and you've probably done the same thing too, and very common, and especially with newer people coming into the workforce, we'll find a lot of this. Maybe they haven't had a job before, maybe this is their first time job, but things that we run into, we know that it's important that people know what's expected of them in their role, what that looks like. We spend time on onboarding and really understanding, what's behind some of these issues, if we can, for an employee. Also, coaching underperformers, we want to make sure we exchange information because we're trying to figure out what's going on. And we want to be able to, something like, is everything okay? Here's some things that I'm observing. We don't want people to feel like, they are performing well when they're not. It's impacting our business, our customers, all those things. So as leaders, even though it's not our favorite thing to do, we still have to coach underperformers because we want them to succeed. So asking those open-ended questions at the beginning of your conversation, especially if you're trying to work with someone to get better, to at least achieve that level of competence that you need. But these are some great questions as you're coaching underperformers. When you're addressing performance issues, you have to be clear as a leader that there is an issue, and trying to understand it from their point of view. Maybe they didn't know. Maybe in a past company it was okay to do it this way. Maybe someone else told them that they should do this way, but making sure you understand what it is from their perspective versus what you're observing too, just to kind of get hopefully a little closer to a solution. You want to do it in private, of course. We always want to respect people, be confidential, and praise in public, coach underperformers in private. Create an action plan, really important, because sometimes it's just coaching that can get them on the right track. It can be a couple of sessions, a follow-up, and they're on that right track. We don't have to put everyone on a progressive discipline procedure or anything like that, a PIP. We want to be able to see if we can't get through whatever that one issue may be, or a couple of issues. If it's a skill issue or not aware of what they're doing issue, that can usually be rectified in 1 or 2 sessions. And of course, conducting the follow-up. So making sure that you're mentioning, if you're seeing improvement, you talk about it. If you're not, let's talk about this again. So when you're coaching underperformers, you want to avoid the word you. It's a double-edged sword. No one wants to be pointed at that you did this, you did that. Focus on the performance. If they're not coming in on time, it's impacting customers by not being on time at work. It's having an impact on us opening on time or doing this on time or clarify that solution. Talk about what the solution has to be, but also ask them about what they think needs to happen too, and make sure that you agree on what that solution has to be. Avoid the generalizations and absolutes. Again, remember, flexibility is important, especially when you're in the coaching stage of someone who may not be meeting their accountabilities or responsibilities. Best practices when you give feedback, both for underperformers and for others, are all of these things here, which we've talked a lot about already. But I do want to just touch on two key questions, which I'll cover in just a moment, but also giving people space to react. Sometimes if it's the first time they've heard something, they haven't had a chance to quite react to it yet, or think about it, reflect on it. So giving them that space to respond or react, and then also being respectful when we're talking to folks. Coaching questions, we want them to be brief, focused, relevant, and constructive. So we want people to think. We want them to reflect about things. So let's take a look at some coaching questions. And these are some, you have all these in your workbook, which is awesome. And the fact that you have all of these in the handouts, everything I've talked about will hopefully get you on that path to feeling pretty confident about having some structure around your coaching. But as you take a look at these questions, they're meant to provoke, have people thinking about things and really provoke their thought. So bringing it all together when we think about coaching and working with folks is that it's about generating growth, results, and opportunity for your individuals, for your folks, for yourself as a leader. You want to be seen as a leader that really grows their people, builds their people, gets results. It really is about that. And it's really about truly making people feel they're valued, they have a path of growth at your organization, and they have your support. It also creates that positive work environment too. I like working in a culture where people feel good about the work that they do. They feel that, gosh, I have a voice here at this company. And the culture is so important. When I interview people for roles, they always want to know about the culture of an organization. And I encourage them, ask the question of the hiring manager, what's the culture like here? Tell me some good things about the culture. Because normally you'll get the good, bad, and the ugly. I want to know about that culture. Coaching makes the culture stronger and makes people feel really good about their organization. It involves people. It involves your employees. They have that voice. And the check-ins too, it's part of successful coaching, but you're going to feel really good. You're not going to be thinking, are there any surprises ahead as a leader? No, because I've had the chance to talk with my employees, coach them. I know that I'm doing everything I can as a leader. So something for you to think about too as we finish up today is what are the top 3 things you'll apply after today's discussion? What are those things that you think, gosh, what can I do differently? What might I adjust a little bit? What do I need to start? What are those things that you can do for yourself and for your team and for your employees? Taking this information, having it is great, but if we don't do anything with it, what good is it? So I always encourage people, don't put it on a shelf. Use it to do 1 or 2 or 3 things that can make a difference for you and your team. I also want to thank again San Bernardino Workforce Development in San Bernardino County for all the support that they provide to you. I encourage you, take full advantage of these resources. They are awesome, awesome resources. And I want to add one more thing, and then I'm going to turn it over to to Anna. And I wanted to mention, for those of you who may be leaders of your organization, it's lonely at the top. I get it, believe me. Sometimes we think, gosh, I wish I could talk to somebody, ask somebody a question. who's experienced this before. We've all been there as leaders, but we at CEA do have a roundtable series here at CEA, which is for CEOs, presidents of organizations, or founders of the organizations, or owners. If you find that you might have a need for just a group of masterminds to kick things around, ask questions, share experiences, find solutions to maybe some things that you're dealing with right now, please take a moment, consider joining the roundtable. We just started it this year, and we've had some phenomenal conversations. I'm the facilitator for it, so I get excited when I talk about it, but just some of the things that are discussed. And it's around things like, people, about the environment, the business, changes in our, all the things that go on in our world too. But it gives you a place that you can ask questions, exchange, network, engage with each other. So I encourage you, for those of you who are at that level, please feel free to share it with your leader if that might be of interest to them. But it does get lonely at the top, I know, and it could be something that would be just what you need, just at the right time. So with that, I am going, and there's a QR code here. You can take a picture of that, feel free. It'll take you right to the site to register. And then lastly, I want to turn it over to our master facilitator and our hostess today, Anna. I'm going to let you take over now. Thank you.
You got it. Woo, take a breath, Miss Rivera. That was a lot of content in less than an hour. Well done, well done. This is why she's our VP, people. So we do want to give you credit for joining us today. So if you are eligible for certification or recertification, your codes are in the chat, and I'll read those out for you as well. HRCI code 712549. SHRM code is 25-55FYE. We are always available. You can either call your complimentary HR hotline provided by San Bernardino, or you can reach out to us, ceainfo@employers.org. If you need a little guidance on what to do with those codes and you'd like to make sure you get credit for joining us live today, please reach out. We're more than happy to be a resource. And then in the chat, I also did just put the link to the San Bernardino Workforce Development Board event calendar. So I did drop the link to September. Angelica also put, can you resend that to everyone? I think it just went to us. If you can drop that to everyone, that would be helpful, because then I don't have to derail myself. But we do have coming up September 3rd, a harassment prevention training for employers. That is a very important one, or I'm sorry, that's for employees, excuse me. And then the supervisors one, the 2-hour training, is the next Wednesday on the 10th. So really encourage you and your teams to make sure that you get that compliance training that's required every 2 years. So pass that along to whoever needs to get registered. This is a really great resource that San Bernardino is providing, so please take advantage of that. And then we just want to thank you all for joining us live. Thank you for staying so engaged. We love an engaged chat. You should have received those PDFs in your email. I know I just got a couple last minute ones, so I'll make sure as I sign off today that you get those in the next few moments. And then as promised, we do have, if you think that we did a great job or you'd like to suggest things that you'd like to see in the future, as I did promise, we do have that survey. So if you can take the minute to either scan that QR code you see on the screen right now, or head over to the chat box and click on that hyperlink. We would really appreciate your feedback. That's also how you suggest things that you'd like to see in the future. So with that, I want to say thank you to Angelica. Thank you, Carmela, your entire team over there. Thank you, Jessica, for leading us on this amazing training as always. And then thank you all for joining us live and staying so engaged. And we got you still out at 11 a.m. on time. There we go, my friends. We'll see you next month for your next series of trainings. And we hope to talk to you on that HR hotline. Thank you all.
Thank you.